Alright guys, welcome aboard the OH-58 Delta, Kiowa Warrior from Polychop for DCS World. Today we're going to take a look at how to fly this thing at night. This should be a short video because there's really not much to cover that you guys don't already know. But we'll hit on a few things that are OH-58 Delta specific. There's not a lot of differences flying at night. Of course, you might want to change the brightness of certain aspects. You can change the brightness of your screen, change the contrast, all that jazz. Our overhead panel, our lighting is our anti-collision light, our position lights, and we do have some floodlights. If we click it forward once, we get a green light that's on the right side. If we flick it forward a second time, it's a white light located on the left side, and this knob changes the intensity of that light. Behind us, we have our formation lights, also known as our slime lights, and this is our IR beacon. Now, these are really only for night vision, so you can't really see them with your unaided eye. We can change from... This is the daylight, or manual it says. We can change it to NVG, it just turns everything green. This doesn't mean that you're going to see it with NVGs necessarily. It's just changing it to a softer, more night-friendly tone. Now with the mass-mounted sight, we do have the ability to operate in TIS, or thermal imaging. However, trying to fly off this is almost impossible. The sight right now is just fixed forward, so as the aircraft bounces around, that image is going to move with the nose of the aircraft. Not really something you want to fly with unless it's an absolute emergency. Of course, you can fly unaided, but typically a Kiowa Warrior pilot is going to fly with his goggles. So just like any other mapping in DCS World, we can bring up our goggles. And I've seen some people comment, and they think that this is a single tube, that somehow DCS is replicating PVS, I think they're 14s with a single tube. Anvis 6s are what pilots use, and it is a dual NVG system. It has two tubes, and it's from your eye, about an inch or so from your eye. This is what it looks like. It looks like a single circle. In fact, you're supposed to adjust it so that it does look like a single circle. Think about when you wear binoculars. You don't see two circles, you see one circle. So I don't know why people are hung up on this idea that this is only one tube. It just kind of shows that you don't actually know anything about night vision goggles. Now I'm going to remove the goggles real quick. We still have our symbology here on our VSD. It's going to tell us our speed and our altitude. And when we bring up the goggles, in real life, it'd be very easy to still see that screen. This is how we flew around. You could look around with the goggles, and then I just peer down with my eyes, and I can see the other stuff. In DCS, that's a little bit hard to do because of that margin. And I think there's some ways where you can change the size of this or what have you. However, we have something fancy in the OH-58 Delta, and I say fancy very loosely. It's basically a plastic tube that sticks on the end of the NVG on one of the tubes, and it transmits a heads-up display to this NVG. So I'm going to have that mapped, and just look in your mapping for ODA, Optical Display Assembly. Once you have that mapped, you can turn on the ODA, and you're going to get essentially a heads-up display in your NVGs. It's the same data that we're seeing on the VSD. Now you're going to see two numbers here. This is your engine torque, and this is your mass torque. So really, we're going to spend more time worrying about this number. It matches this number down here, mass torque. This is what we're paying attention to the most. Of course, we've got our airspeed, our MSL altitude, our AG altitude, and our attitude indicator, our horizon, our vertical speed, our heading tape, all that good stuff that we're used to seeing. If you've watched the previous video, and you should, about just basic flight, you're going to see that we also have hover mode. So I'm going to transition to hover mode with the display switch on my stick. And there's my hover mode. And if I hold that hover bob-up button, I'm going to get my hover pop-up box just like I would have on my VSD. Additionally, I can transition to my weapons sparse VSDs. I'm going to select the 50 cal. That's indicating that I do have 50 cal. And over to the rockets. Now, of course, we're not getting the same amount of data that we would be getting on our sparse VSD down on our screen, such as what mode we're in, the fuses, all that jazz. But we are at least getting some information letting us know that we are selected on that particular weapon system. Another cool thing to know about at night, when you have the 50 caliber mounted, you also have an ISLID. This is an infrared pointer that's actually attached to the 50 cal, and the fire switch is located on your collective. And I'm just going to press that button now, and you can see that we've got this IR beam that flashes out. And ISLID is a very strong, very powerful infrared pointer. So the fact that it's reaching as far as it is not unheard of. If you're concerned about the brightness of the ODA, if it's too bright or not bright enough, you can go to your initial page, page 2, and you can change the brightness as you like. Now the trick to flying with goggles is really just keep looking around, keep getting that contrast. It'll help you kind of keep an idea of where you are. And of course with the ODA you're going to get a lot of information, and if you've been flying the Apache at all in DCS, you're used to having this information presented to you. Notice that the heading tape does not move with the ODA. It's still just giving you the heading for the aircraft. The MMS, as it slews, you'll see that closed caret is moving, and you do have an indication for your waypoint, which is that bar that's moving over the 3 right now. When the weapon systems are armed, you're going to see an A appear over the engine torque. So I'm going to arm, and now we can tell that the aircraft is armed. I'm going to go ahead and test out this ISLID with the 50 cal. So all I'm going to do is just nose it over, turn on that ISLID, and fire the gun. Of course, you can also use the ISLID with rockets. However, it is not bore-sighted quite the same. Guys, that's basically it for flying at night. It's kind of like flying during the daytime, just everything is green. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you're enjoying the Kiowa Warrior. We'll talk to you on the next one. Take it easy.